Greetings and welcome to another Stompy 51 miniature adventure. Today we're going to have a look at the Biomech alien produced and sold by Copplestone Castings, now through North Star figurines, who are obviously fantastic. I've had it now I think for a couple of years since I swapped for it on the Lead Adventure forum, and I did fear it was going to be left in the lead pile, the pile of opportunity or shame as you see it for years to come. But I have actually managed to paint it, inspired perhaps by having watched the robot a lot in the more recent series of Lost in Space. I didn't go wild with this Biomech alien. I just really wanted it to fit into my Adeptus Mechanicus themed droids of various types, which I've been using for Mantic's Dead Zone and probably could also use for Xenos Rampant. So at the same time I painted 5 of these sec bots, as they're called, which, you know, what were you thinking? Security bots, which I had printed at about 5 or 10% bigger than I think they come. And so they're the basic core of the force. And so I guess this Biomech alien, sculpted by Mark Copplestone, the legend, well, that is going to be not the leader model. He doesn't really strike me as someone with obvious leadership capability. He looks to me like someone who makes holes in people for a living. So he's going to be an assassin droid. And I suppose he's from that long-running theme of science fiction films where these robots are kind of, although they are made out of metal, they kind of regenerate themselves and look slightly less blocky and metallic than usual. And so I suppose that's what that bit on the leg and that bit of the guts there are supposed to be, with its kind of fused cables. It looks very Lost in Space. Oh, I need to glue that back down properly. And he comes with a little bit of a cannon and the scythe, which makes, I wouldn't say makes holes in people, I suspect it just scythes them. And I did manage to resist my usual puerile drive towards just going wild with blood for the blood god on anything which looks like it could make contact with flesh. So things that I did right: I think the colour pattern looks alright. I mean, it looks in keeping. The black, I think, stopped at being too cottage cheesy and white. The decal, I was terrified when I put it on because this is a curved surface and it didn't seem to be going on flat. But after however many layers of matte varnish, it seemed to smooth it properly. Because I've always wondered, whenever you look at kind of hoplite shields and the decals on them, how in the world, if the shield is curved, do the flat transfers work? But it seems to be all right. I didn't get it quite right with the weathering and the chipping. I've got to think about it. I mean, I had a pair of pincers and, not pincers, what are they called? Pliers, but like tiny ones. And I put a bit of the packaging material at the end, and I kept just sort of trying to dab it onto the edges, but I didn't seem to have like proper control, and so I just ended up dabbing it in places where I suppose you wouldn't see chipping. But equally, maybe he just looks like he's been around for a long time, and these are just the results of people firing rocket-propelled grenades and such like at his person. But he looks all right. I mean, listen, this guy was a swap I did on Lead Adventure for him. So he's been sitting in someone's lead pile probably since the 2000s. And he sat in my lead pile for a couple of years. And now there's a reasonable chance he'll see a game. And then I painted 5 more of these sec bots. Oh, I need to glue. I mean, that's what happens if you use wood glue for these. And then just start bashing them about without waiting the usual sort of half-day period. And so using a bit of water effect UV resin, but just the thinnest amount on the glassy bits, is a bit of a game changer, because it means that these didn't really take that long to paint, because I started off with all of these with the Games Workshop Contrast Paint White, and then I just dry brushed that with a bit of AK white, Mars white I think it's called. And then for some kind of enhanced definition, I took a bit of the Games Workshop. It's a contrast black Legion, but added quite a lot of water to it, and then tried to bring out some definition where the panels were more obviously delineated. And then I just did a bit of one of the mid-level metals, I think also from AK, but possibly not, I'd have to check. And then I did a blue and black wash over the metal. Did the most limited highlights you can imagine with a more silvery metal. And then put on the decals. And then that was the point at which I had a bash with the Ryox hide chipping. And then put a bit of silver in any obvious bits which looked like the chipping could have gone to the next layer down, and it came out all right. I mean, I could have taken some actual white, which would have come out just fine on this, because these aren't white, and gone around the edges of the chipping. But I'm not that interested in it, and they will look just fine with this now much larger force of Secbots, who will be the basis for, I don't know, a Xenos Rampant army. And then we've got these TAC drones. They would be the long-range shooters. And I've got a couple of Striders, better known as Adeptus Mechanicus Castellans. And together, they will form that force. So you'll have a bit of long range, an assassin running around taking you out, a leader with his little data sheet or data slate over there, and then your body of evil Care Bears. The tummy signs of love and cuddles meets Roger. At which point I think we'll leave it, and I will ask you to leave any interesting comments you have, particularly any kind of interesting miniatures you think that with this kind of painting style could kind of fit into my Xenos Rampant kind of droid force. And of course, if you'd like to subscribe and see where that goes, that would make me feel good about myself as a human being. Have a good day or evening, wherever you are. Cheers.